So in the last video, we ended up with having our code looking like this. And what that really did was just ask the user how many to-dos they want to add to their list. So to kind of just demonstrate it, if we head back to the command line, we can run, and if you're not running, or if your Elixir environment isn't currently running, then to do that, just first of all, make sure you're inside the project folder and just do iex-s and then mix. And we can do to-dos dot create to-dos. And it just asks us like how many to-dos do you want to add? We can say something like 3, and we just get this value 3. So yeah, nothing crazy at the moment. It's not like the next big startup app, but the one thing I want to highlight is the fact that we're making use of 3 lines of code here, and we're reassigning number of tasks like twice, which it's, you know, or like we're using this like number of tasks variable quite often, like 4 times basically, and it's not clean and it gets a bit messy. So this is where one of the cool features of Elixir comes in, which is something called pipe operators. And if you don't know what the pipe operator is, there is like a really good explanation here on the elixirschool.com. I'd recommend checking that out as well. There's like a great kind of digital book on how to get started with Elixir. But the pipe operator is represented as these 2 symbols. So this like line, I don't know the name, but you'll see it on your keyboard somewhere. Just like the way I always think of this is look at the keys that you don't normally press, and you'll probably find it. But it's this pipe kind of sign symbol, and the greater than symbol as well. And the definition the Elixir School gives is the pipe operator passes the result of an expression as the first parameter of another expression. So like everything in Elixir is kind of just, they're all expressions really. So this here is an expression. So when we get the gets, and if we remember, we go back here, we can do IO gets and just pass in like I don't know, enter something. Oops. And then brackets, and we can do something like 23, and we get this back. So this 23 and this new line at the end of it. And what we go ahead and do is like split that up. So we just want that number, as you can see, like what we just did before running this io.gets. We get this like just this plain number, this plain integer value, and that's what we want. So we use this like integer.parse to get that individual integer, and then just return that integer as the, so like again, just as a recap, the last line of code that you write inside a function within Elixir is always the return, and that's what we do here. But yeah, the pipe operator will help us to kind of like condense this into basically one line. So I will just comment this out here, and the comment is just a pound sign or hashtag or whatever you want to call it. And we can say this is the old code, not so nice. And we're gonna now use the cool version of it. So we can say the pipe operator like so. And we could probably just like throw in this definition in here as well, as it's quite a like gentle definition as well for like anyone who's not a big fan of the kind of like complex definitions that languages tend to have. But we're going to use this pipe operator, so like this pipe symbol and then the greater than sign. And yeah, like my like editor kind of formats this in like a fancy-ish sort of way, just more pleasant for the eye. But what we basically entered is this line and then the greater than sign, and just so they're next to each other. And the way we can go about using this is we can say the number of tasks. So as you remember, like this integer pass is the last thing that we call, or this integer function that we, this is the last integer function that we call. So we're gonna have the data in this sort of format within like these curly brackets. So what we can do is say number of tasks and put an underscore. So as you remember with underscores, if we, let's say if we go back to line 5 and remove this underscore before the Q, then Elixir will complain about it when we run our code or compile it, as we're not making use of this value Q. That's why we just put an underscore in front of it, so that Elixir knows, look, we're not going to look at this, so just leave it be. But you can also just leave an empty underscore with nothing next to it. And then what we can do now is say that equals the value that we want. Actually, let me just copy this. So that equals this value, but that value will be passed into this integer.pass, and I'll just copy that as well. So what this is basically doing is like if we start from here, we will get our final result will be in this form. So number of tasks and then this like underscore. And what we're saying is we are passing whatever value we get from this. So that being this here, and I'll just put like a comment here as well. So that's to like, not here, sorry, here. So this here is like the number of tasks. So we could say something like that. And this 3 being associated with number of tasks, and this like new line wrapped in double quotes associated with this underscore Q. And we're saying the value we get from that, we want to throw it into integer.pass. And because we're using the pipe operator, we can remove the this parameter number of tasks, as the pipe operator is will be the first argument or the first parameter inside a function. So as it says here, passes the result of an expression as the first parameter of another expression, and we're just we're passing with this return as the first value within this function here. So sorry if that may sound a bit confusing. I definitely recommend messing around with it a bit more. With this series, we will use the pipe operator again. So hopefully that may clarify it further. But now what we can do is just do number of tasks like we did there to just return the value, the integer value itself. We can now just comment this out. And when I clicked Command S, it just reformatted it onto a new line. There was just nothing else that happened there, but that was it. But now what we can do is if we go back to our command line, we can just click or type in recompile, and that just refreshes the code or the command line to tell it, look, we've just made changes, and just respect those changes. So now we can do to-dos dot create to-dos, and it does the exact same thing. So we can type in 4 and we get back 4. So same as before, but what we've done is we've replaced these 3 lines of code, or I guess these 2 lines of code, and just put it into 1. And the pipe operator really becomes useful if we were then to pass this value into something else. So we could do like some other function, and we can pass that in there, and that will then pass it into something else. It saves us from creating a bunch of variables, etc., and it just makes the code a lot more streamlined and a lot cleaner. So the pipe operator is definitely something it's very beautiful. That is a very beautiful sort of functionality that comes with Elixir. But that's this one done. And now I want to look at the Enum module, because we want to add some more functionality to our app so that we can check or we can search for a to-do. So let's say we have a to-do that says, read a book. So we want to check to see if that to-do is in our list. So we'll write a method for that using the Enum module. And we can also do probably another method where we want to get back like a random to-do item. So let's say we create a list of like 5 things, let's say a few of them are like eat an apple, read a book, exercise, and we want to create a function that just returns a random one. I said 5, I mentioned 3, but yeah, the point is it will just return a random to-do that we entered, so that like, who doesn't like a random to-do? It saves you from thinking about what to do next. But yeah, that's what we'll do now. So before we get started with the Enum module, the first thing I want to do is just, in terms of our application, this create to-dos function is something we'll get back to later on, so in the next video. As for now, we just want to I just want to state that this complete later. So we'll be ignoring this function for now, and we'll be taking a look at the Enum module as this is still incomplete, so it won't be useful just yet. And I want to create like a hard-coded list. So we can just say temp to-dos, and this will just return, let's add some to-dos. So let's say eat apple, read book, Elixir series, and let's do exercise. So yeah, very productive to-do app. And yeah, the reason why I've created this is because the Enum module will be manipulating, or not so much manipulating, but we need a list. And because this is incomplete, I just thought it would be nice to have a list at hand. So if we go back and we can just recompile, we can do to-dos.temp file, temp to-dos, and we just get back a list of to-dos. So yeah, now we can dive into this wonderful world of the Enum module. So if you go to the Elixir docs, and in the nav bar, if you scroll down to Enum, you'll land on this well-documented page. Oh, I've scrolled too far down. But yeah, you'll land here, which it gives a really nice definition of what this module does. So it provides a set of algorithms to work with enumerables, and an enumerable is basically like a collection or a list, something that you can count into, like a list, for example. So you could have to-do list item 1, to-do list item 2, in our case eat apple, read book. So it you can go through it, and a list is an enumerable, so that's why we can make use of the Enum module. So the Enum module comes built in with Elixir, and it has a bunch of functions that come with it that we'll be making use of. And if you scroll down, you'll see all the functions here with a nice definition that comes with each one. So the first function I want to add is to kind of check to see whether a given task exists within or given to do exists within our to-do list. So let's say I want to check for is read book in the to-do list, and if it is, then it will return true. If not, then false. So in our case, it will return true. Let's say if I said do grocery shopping, then that will return false, as that's not in this list. So to do that, we can go to the Elixir enum docs, and there's a certain function that we want, and I know this because I in terms for preparation of this video, but there is a function that we want. It's called member, wherever you are, this here. So this basically checks if an element exists within the enumerable, and that's what we want. So it checks if element exists in some enumerable, in our case a list. And the other cool thing with Elixir is if you're familiar with language like Python or Java or whatever, then with Elixir you're allowed to have a question mark at the end of a function definition. So in this case, here with member, you're allowed to have that there, which kind of indicates to us that it'll probably most likely return a Boolean value, and that's just, yeah, like kind of more of a way to express, like, actually I should zoom in, I think this is, but yeah, to kind of express like what this, or like give more of an idea of what this function will do. So now if we head back to our code, we can create something like contains, and we can use a question mark as well, and we'll be passing in the tasks, so like that. And again, like if you're coming from like a language like Python, then as that's an OOP language, you're allowed to kind of you can within your class create like a class variable that would, in our case, if you were to do this in Python, then like you would have your list being like a class variable that you can access with anywhere within the class and manipulate it. With like a functional language like Elixir, you don't have that, so you would have to manually pass in the tasks. And so that's what we'll do here. And what this does is we can just do enum.member, and we'll pass in not just tasks, sorry, we want task as well. So the task that we're looking for, and we can just say tasks and task, like so. And that will check to see if whatever task we've passed in is in our task list. So if we go back to our code and just recompile it, let's assign our to-do list to to-dos dot temp to-dos. So now to-do list is this list here. Just clear that up. Okay, now we can make use of this contains function. So we can do to-dos dot contains, and we can pass in the to-do list. Oops. And let's say we're looking for, let's say we want read book. So does our to-do list contain read book? And we get the value true, which is true, as that is something that we have. Let's say if we did another one though, and we said something like go shopping, then we get false, as go shopping does not exist within our list. So fairly straightforward. However, I do recommend messing around with this enum module and be a bit more creative than I'm being right now by like just adding a bunch of functionality to the to-do app and just mess around with everything that comes with this module, or like with your own apps. But essentially, this is how to check for a element within a list. And the last thing I want to do with the enum module is to also get a random task or a random to-do from our to-do list. So as mentioned earlier, it'd be cool to have like something where we don't have, let's say we're stuck on what to do next, then we can call this random function and it will just give us a random task to do. So there is another function, and again, like it's something that I had looked up before, but it's this here, this take random function here that you can see highlighted in yellow. So takes count random elements from enumerable, and if we click on it, you can see like an example of how this function works. The same goes for like member and all the other ones. So so what it will do, like with this example here, is this one here. We're giving it a list between a list of numbers between 1 and 10, and we want to get 2 random elements from that, and that's what this does here. And we just want to replicate that into our project and get like 1 random task. So let's create another function and we'll call that random task, and then we'll just pass in tasks and do like that. So we're passing tasks in again, and we can use enum dot take random, and this is where you'll see something interesting. So we say tasks and let's say 1, And let's go and try that out. So let's just recompile. And yeah, if you remember, like this to-do list variable that we created still exists. So it's still alive and well within our environment. And we can now do to-dos dot random task and just pass in like our to-do list like so, and we get read book. But notice, however, like it's wrapped inside this list, and that's what, like, it will return a list because it may not be one random element that we want. We could say two. So if we did something like this and just hit recompile and run that same thing again, now we get two random elements. And so that's why it's in a list, because it could be one or more. But we just want one. We know that we'll just get one task, hence the name random task rather than it being in plural. So what we could do is say the task is that, and we can just then return task like this. So we're using pattern matching again. As we know, this will return a list. We want to match, and it will only return a list of one element. So we want to match that one element with this variable task. And then finally, we just return task. So we can recompile. Let's just clear that to add more space. Just enter a bit. And we can do, so our to-do list variable is still there. We can do to-dos dot random task, and we can pass in to-do list. Is it so? Yeah, there we go. We get eat apple, so just one random task from our list. And we can do another one, so eat apple again, Elixir series, eat apple, Elixir series. I should actually change that to do Elixir series. I don't know why I didn't put that in before. Actually, I need to recompile, but yeah, the point is we now have like just a bunch of random elements, and I'm not sure why we're getting just those two. That's Elixir series showed up as well, but yeah, you get the point. Like, or I hope you do. So in this video we basically covered how to, like, a simple way of making use of the pipe operator, where we kind of just condensed our code from the last video into a much more kind of also readable form as well. So like this pipe operator has like the symbolism behind it kind of just suggests that like we're passing this the return value of this into this. And yeah, like the pipe operator is definitely something like that's really cool with Elixir. And we've also looked at the enum module, or at least two functions of the enum module, like check to see if an element exists within our enumerable or our list, and also take a random element from that list as well. But yeah, you can also like have a look at like the kind of other functionalities that come with the enum module. Like, for example, I don't know, like count, which would just return the number of like to-dos that we have, or the number of elements that you have in your list. And yeah, like I'd recommend messing around and just going through some of these like functions and see what you find. But yeah, that's essentially this video. So in the next one, I want to cover the like how to write a for loop within Elixir, and also look at another module known as the list module, where we'll basically just be like, we can use that to kind of like complete a task. So it'll just delete an element from our list. And yeah, like we'll experiment with that, but that's what we'll cover in the next one. But other than that, I wish you all the best. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And I have a Discord server as well up and running, so feel free to pop by and say hello. And if you have any recommendations in terms of like what you want to see from this channel, then yeah, feel free to drop me a message there. But aside from that, stay healthy, stay safe, and I hope to see you in the next video.